Hello, AJ Henriksen. We're in Elgin, Illinois, at a place I've wanted to see for a long time.
Welcome to ECC Motorsports.
Thank you, sir. Okay, folks, we're going to see something that has been talked about to be perhaps a public viewing at one time in the future. Right now, you get to see it on video. We enter the doorway here, and the first thing myself as a collector of diecast sees is this shelf.
Yeah.
And AJ is obviously a collector himself. Maybe show us around a little bit.
Since I was little, yeah. I'm a huge Red Bull fan, so anything Red Bull I kind of try to get a hold of diecast wise.
What was it about the Red Bull guys?
I liked Red Bull a lot. I had a couple of guys that worked for me at night. They did a lot of paint work and body work, mechanic work when I was in Mooresville that were from Red Bull Racing. So kind of got addicted to Red Bull at the same time. Maybe not such a great thing to get addicted to, but I don't drink them anymore. But I still love the diecast stuff. And
the cars are nice looking. I mean, you got to admit, they're the color combos are nice.
Yeah, just a couple of random stuff in there.
I'm seeing that AJ Foyt.
Yeah, huge AJ Foyt fan.
Obviously.
So yeah, I got some of the old Ertl stuff from the late '70s down there.
I think those kids, every kid at that time had those. I had it at one time. And you even got the little figurine down there.
Yeah.
Most people don't have the figurine.
Right.
And I've noticed you got a lot of your own cars. Who makes those for you?
No, I do. I used to do it. I haven't had really time to do it. Like, for example, this one, I started this one in 1994 and haven't finished it yet. So,
shit.
Stuff, kind of get busy, and I think I did this one when we first started the American Race Truck Series. But yeah, I haven't really done any in quite some time. Maybe I'll finish that one in the next 20 years or so.
when we have time, which will never happen.
Yeah. Just having some open space where we do a lot of the work in cars right now.
And that was your dad, Arne. In case people on the screen were wondering who that was, we will visit with him later.
Older chassis dyno. We kind of use it just to make some noise. We had a car show recently, actually with Dave Kindig and Kev Dog from. They were here for a car show. It was actually a great turnout for a first show. So we just made some noise. It's not very accurate anymore. It's kind of an old dyno, so the electronics don't work so great. But it's an old restrictor plate car from 2006 that makes some pretty good racket in here. So. We'll just leave it up there and do that once in a while, annually.
Sometimes you got to be the loudest dog in the pack, huh? Now, the gentlemen you mentioned, are they local personalities?
Yes, they do that show, Bitchin' Rides.
Gotcha.
Out of Salt Lake City, Utah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
This is one that TA2 car we just got back from Nashville. A little bit of nose damage, you can see. Needed to update to the new 2021 nose anyway, is the way I'll put it. But, we used it up a little bit there.
Which is a good strategy. Wait till you damage it and then replace it.
Yeah, and Boris did a great job. His first race with us, did a wonderful job bringing it back, for the most part, in one piece, and solid top 10 in the most stacked TA2 field to date, as far as competition-wise.
But street racing is not easy on equipment.
Right. There was and it was an inaugural street event, so it was a lot of unknowns, So that would be a fun event for the next 3 years. Is the deal there?
That is a 3-year deal in downtown Nashville.
Right.
Then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably the coolest event I've ever been to, and I've been to a lot of races, and it was the kind of thing that made your hair stand up. But just the atmosphere of that many people that are that interested in this day and age. It was pretty cool to see a couple 100,000 people that had actual interest, that didn't have their phones out and didn't care. Whereas you see a lot of that lately.
The sight line's pretty good. A lot of times people complain about street racing.
They set up pretty good. Every fence was crowded. They had grandstands everywhere. They did a really good job, actually. really good job.
Because even like Belle Isle, you know, I'm from Detroit. Even Belle Isle, a lot of complaints are you can't see much of the course.
True.
So
yeah, they did a really good job on that, honestly.
Well, you might have talked me into going to one of these races.
Yeah, this is an older, one of the first Howe cars we bought. It's a GT2 car.
Howe builds TAs, okay.
Yeah, he's basically the main builder. Him and Mike Cope are the main two builders in TA2 racing. This was another one. This is when we actually, Bob Shack drove it a couple years back. The Dodge is one that Adam did most of his winning in. 6 of his 7 wins were in that car. 5 with a Chevrolet body and 2 with the Dodge.
Adam as in?
Adam Andretti.
The famous Andretti clan. Wow.
The last race I ran, Scott Legacy finished 5th with it, Detroit in 2019.
So why the Camaro, the Dodge? You've had a Cadillac before?
It was to stay competitive in the series. As the series evolved, it went through a lot of changes. It's leveled out to where the manufacturers are, for the most part, fairly equal. In the beginning, like any series in the beginning, they had some growing pains to where there were certain times of the season to where the Dodge had a pretty good advantage torque-wise. And we also had Fords. So Adam was actually the first driver to win in all 3 manufacturers in TA2. Not in the same season, but within about a year and a half did that. So
please forgive my ignorance, but you've got these big fat wings on the other cars, but not on the back here. We're using parts.
I don't. Well, to be honest with you, I don't quite. It's the one thing that I don't like about a TA2 car. I'll be honest with you, is the wing. I'm a stock car guy. Was probably one of the first. I know Butch Miller did a Trans Am race in 2010 in Canada when they were trying something new, and they just called it ASA because it was the old ASA cars. I believe I was the first oval guy to go from the oval racing to Trans Am road racing. Whereas there's some in the past, Wally Dallenbach, for example, Boris said, have went from Trans Am to oval, where I kind of went the other way, and was the first, I think, especially the first to do it full time in TA2. Our first full time year was 2013, and then again 14 and 15. I think we ran for a championship in 16 as well. So it was a lot of fun to watch it grow. But I will admit it's the only thing that I just really don't like about the look of the car is the wing.
I think maybe that's
this is here's a club car to where we had the option, and we were actually faster with the spoiler. So to me, being a stock car guy, that suits this look a lot better. I think wings look proper on certain shapes of vehicles, but not a muscle car in my opinion. So I just take it off so it looks cooler without it.
See some other cars back here. I don't know which way you want to go, but
it's an old Camping World East car, originally an ARCA car. Well, actually, originally a Kevin Harvick RCR car. Honestly,
the 7 car up here.
Yes, it
wow.
was a car that we were going to do a speedway program, and we bought a speedway car, and we were going to do a deal with Jeff Spraker, and then we just kind of changed our mind, and Grady Humphreys at the time had this car, and they needed a speedway Busch car, so we traded cars. This was driven by Jason Jarrett in ARCA. It was a Bennigan's car, actually, which I know you're a pretty big fan of Bennigan's. Had a Monte Cristo last night.
Absolutely.
I have one every time I go, almost.
You got one tonight.
But originally it was a Harvick car that Grady had bought, through ML Motorsports for Jason Jarrett, and then, like I said, I'm right behind you there. And then we traded. Ran well with it. Great car. Below it's a car we got from Bobby Jones that we never really did much with. Got up for a really good price.
The Dodge, yep.
Yeah, we stripped it apart, to be honest with you. We needed brakes for a car, so what we paid for the car was like, okay, we'll take the brakes off of it because they were brand new and use it up. So.
But you still have a car, run it somewhere.
We're going to probably put it back to the way it was. It was Evernham Dodge.
Oh, I see.
So it had several paint schemes. I need to go through the homework of the chassis number to see which different paint schemes I can use, but most likely it'll be a 9, so the straight up 9 red,
And have Bill Elliott show up
right,
again, and you know, wherever you show it, like
Right.
that car show, perhaps.
Right.
I see a White Knight back here.
Yeah, it's an old Big 8 late model from 2006-ish that recently we just kind of had some fun with some decals, and we were sitting there plain white for quite some time on the lift there, and we just thought we'd do something kind of cool.
Definitely an attention getter.
Yeah.
Got my attention. One of the first things I saw when I walked in earlier. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Will it compete, or is it just more of
It's
a?
actually been converted to a road race late model, so we haven't had fun with it in quite some time, about a couple of years now. But a local Autobahn track remembers that Autobahn Country Club, so we kind of have a few vehicles we bring there to play around with. This one not being one of them. This thing will never be on the racetrack.
Right.
I've seen somebody else crash one just like it earlier this year at Charlotte, and I almost cried for him, knowing that you can't. What are you going to do now? You got a wrecked IROC car.
And it was an original that they wrecked? An original IROC car?
This was
Ooh.
I guess we'll go into that after. We'll kind of cover these a little bit.
Yeah,
these
sure.
Are, GT1 and TA cars.
You are the tour guide.
Adam drove this one a lot.
Pretty car.
With a 43 livery on it, the STP for a while on it. And then our GT1 car over there.
Now, is this the one you did the 43 throwback?
Right.
That's the one you did in Sebring earlier?
Yes.
This year?
Yes.
Pretty car. That petty blue always stands out, doesn't it? No matter where you're at.
Yeah, we're just going to leave it like that. We like it. Yeah. We do like it.
Just need to get some STP dollars on there for it.
Right. And then one of our older T8 cars, which is now just a GT1 car. It's got a little bit of damage we haven't got to from a little bit of beating and banging in the last race.
Now, that's a Corvette, right?
Yes, it's an older Corvette. Actually won the last race we were in with it to get qualified for the runoffs.
Wow, okay.
At Groton, Michigan. One of my favorite tracks. I just every time I've been there, it's for a last chance majors. So it's my mindset is to just finish, and we won. It was very cool, a lot of fun, but I haven't really got to unleash at that racetrack and really get after it, because it is a lot of fun. The track has everything you can imagine, so it was pretty cool, and this will just continue to be a GT1 car for the rest of its days. It's not really competitive in Trans Am series anymore.
Please excuse my ignorance. I'm basically a stock car guy, but difference between GT1 and GT, or TA1, TA2, GT1, GT2.
TA and GT1 are exactly the same cars.
Okay.
Like GT1, you can run an old, you can run anything from a 70s to now car in it. There's a lot of guys running like Wally Dallenbach. He'll run an older Roush Mustang, for example, in GT1. And GT2 is kind of, you can run a TA2 car in GT2, which they throw you together with Porsches and BMWs and a lot of stuff that at times and at certain racetracks are quite a bit faster. It takes a pretty big horsepower track to be faster than a good, GT3 Cup Porsche, for example. But they're a lot of fun. I think eventually there'll be an actual TA2 class, GT2, that will be TA2 cars only. There's so many of them. So there's more and more every year of the older cars. And that was through the evolution, like I said, of Trans Am. It wasn't really their fault. It was just the evolution of a new series. They, coming from the TA2 car, coming basically from an ASA car is what they copied.
I see all this electronics up here. This definitely is not the same as, say, an ARCA car or a Cup car or anything like that.
Right, that's the older, kind of the older vintage version, whereas like over here, this car is more cleaner, updated.
Yeah, I didn't mean to imply you guys were messy about it. I just meant
the floor is out of it right now currently because the trans has been pulled and stuff like that. But as far as the wiring and the cockpit, we'll say, is a lot bigger and a lot easier to see out of this car.
Yeah.
This car is about 400 pounds lighter than that one, so it's got a lot more weight in the bottom of it.
And the one thing I notice here is that you got a lot of space between the door edge and your seat.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, these cars are safer than the older stock cars. I'll say older now that they're going to that new gen car,
right,
to where they sit more center like this kind of a car. So.
And the one thing I've noticed about these is there's a big old loop on the roof. What's that for? Is that to
That's
tow you out?
Yeah, for towing it. Right, you pull it either way.
These are pretty cars, and they, you know, and you can definitely tell the difference between a Camaro and a Corvette and a Challenger, and
for sure.
you know, I mean, now, that'll always be the great debate. You know, we can't tell the difference in stock car racing, but you can certainly tell it here.
This one just for looks. I don't like it; just looks good. You know what? Honestly, and we run into it once in a while. Where you'll be working, and you bump. I think I got a few different cuts from the end plates. So
you can tell your wife, look, I bashed my head on the wing again, honey. I mean, come on.
So we make it easy to remove. Just 4 pins and take that thing off and stick it in the toolbox. All right, we'll get into some museum stuff.
This is the part I'm looking forward to. No, not that I wasn't looking forward to that, but when you sent me some of these pictures of this, I did not know this was here, and this is the part I'm looking forward to.
Started a couple years back. Started with a couple cars and a couple more, and anytime we can find a good deal, we kind of try to get a hold of it. This one here is it's from it was built in '96 originally.
Oh wow!
Chassis number 4 of this IROC generation.
Wow.
'96 through '06 it was run. And the way that it is exactly the way that it came off the racetrack.
Oh wow!
Like exactly.
Wow.
It was driven by Jeff Gordon, Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson,
wow,
Sam Hornish, Dale Jarrett, Bobby and Terry Labonte drove it.
Wow.
Ryan Newman, Ricky Rudd, Steve Kinzer.
Wow.
Tony Stewart won 02 Michigan with this car. And they give me a little log book of what all the stuff I'm saying here is all listed there.
Oh, wow.
Of the car's history. And this is one of our pride possessions.
Absolutely. Definitely keep those doors locked when you're not here. Wow.
Yeah,
I never realized this plastic was back here either. You never see that in pictures.
Certain racetracks.
Okay.
Where they would take that out. And then some tracks this was a black piece and they had a fin and it connected it. It followed this all the way through here, like the short tracks. They did Richmond a few times and stuff like that.
They probably figured the black though, you can't see through it, so let's make it clear or something, I would assume.
Yeah, it's like I said, everything the way that it came off the track, we were pretty lucky on getting this one. Funny enough, so me and Lou Seipel actually went to the auction for when they auctioned these off in 2007 to get some miscellaneous stuff, shocks, and there was all kinds of different stuff that we ended up going home with some different parts. And we watched these cars auction for just dirt cheap.
Really?
We were lucky enough to where we recently got this from a guy that was lucky enough to get that car for somewhere around 10 grand back then.
Wow.
We paid a little more for that, to get it now, but we got a really good deal.
You got a roller for a great deal.
And it's it's turnkey. So
Have you fired it up lately? I'm not asking you to do it now, but
yeah, we'll do it towards the end of the day if you want. I'll plug it in here in one of our breaks and we'll fire it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow, that's pretty. That's a pretty car. Too bad we can't find some of those IROC ones and just start a vintage IROC series, huh?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, easy to spend other people's money, right?
And then it's about half and half as far as authentic and replicas in the museum. Go ahead and start with this one. This one's a replica of a 64 Foyt Lorenzen car.
Well, it's a real nice replica. I've seen some pretty nasty looking ones.
Yeah, and we kind of saved this one from a pretty ruggedy place in Joliet where the guy had it under about an inch of dust. There was raccoons living in it, and we basically cleaned it up, and it was pretty good.
No, it looks great. Now, had it been a race car before, or?
No, this was just a street car, basically, that was converted to look, like it looked. It was actually hand lettered at this World of Wheels.
Wow. Okay.
Car show. The Chicago Brushmasters did all the lettering on it.
Imagine driving a race car like that.
Yep.
No headrests, and this is. I don't know if you ever heard Richard Petty tell the story when he got the Hemi in '64. He said the only problem they had was he turned the wheel to go left, He's over here on the right. So you see Lorenzen has no support here either.
Yeah, they started, shortly after this time period, they started putting bracing on the stock seats. As you see some of these other cars like this. That's, he signed it. Yeah, he signed it at that car show.
Wow.
He did the hand lettering.
No, it's a very pretty replica. Very, very great, paint job, and everything's, proportioned.
Yeah, and the hand lettering, they nailed it as far as it's kind of a custom font.
Oh,
You
yeah.
don't see that font anywhere, so it's, because, they did their own thing back then. They painted their own, they had their own style and own fonts and stuff like that. So
you were definitely unique. Here's a
this is a 68 Torino.
Banjo Car.
It was originally driven by a guy named Rhea Greenwood in the Cup Series. He was kind of a backmarker Cup guy. When he drove it, it would look just like Pearson's car. It was blue with a gold top. He ran number 3 on it. It's a Holman Moody car, though. It was put together. It was Holman Moody then sold full-blown cars, and they also sold a kit type thing, to where this was a kit, basically, that was put together then for Rhea, and then over the years it was sold on. And this paint scheme was actually on it when we bought it.
Okay.
It had Donnie Allison's name on it.
Okay.
My father always wanted to get an AJ Foyt car, and I found that AJ Foyt drove, not this car in particular, but a car painted like this. So I found a picture to
outstanding
show it, and it worked out to where, because Donnie Allison never actually drove it, we can go ahead and just basically change the name on the thing and found this picture, and we just polished it. We just kind of a recent purchase. And
I never seen Foyt in this Torino,
so that's very, very rare.
Yeah, I thought he was with Bowser at the time, but
that car a few times.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, if you had not shown me the picture, not to say I'd call you a liar, but I'd say you're fibbing. I never knew he drove this style.
And there's a barely picture of when they lettered this up after this picture was taken. It's a kind of a blurry picture of him on track around somebody where you can barely see
the Sunny King.
They put this on, but it's not on in this picture. It was just done
after qualifying or whatever.
Painted there during the weekend.
That's a pretty car too. That red just gleams. Wow.
Yeah, this was restored actually at Ernie Elliott's shop in 2003. So this paint job, which we comment about all the time too, because it's pretty solid. A lot of buffing. I mean, I think we might have buffed off 4 coats of clear to get it to be straight. But it's beautiful. It's held up very well since '03, for sure. We recently purchased it about 2 years ago. So the guy that had it for quite some time, he showed it a lot. He even raced it a little bit.
Oh wow!
This VRA series.
I would have never raced it.
Right.
Never. No. Now, as a Petty fan.
Yeah, this one a '78 Dodge Magnum. It was at the time Petty had, and we have most of what I'm saying documented. They had 4 Magnums, but the first Magnum wasn't an actual Magnum. It was this car. It was a Magnum body that they put on an old Roadrunner because the actual Magnum wasn't ready yet. So it ended up being the worst, the heaviest Magnum because the Magnum was not a great car.
No.
It was also the car that Kyle Petty won his first and only ARCA racing.
So this is the car?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
And we have documentation of that too.
Excellent.
And then RJ Reynolds bought it to do their
show car.
Right, the number 1. They put number 1 on it.
I remember that.
Yeah, this is what's cool is when they repainted it at Petty's, they left this open, which is cool. Yeah.
Wow.
But I got pictures of it where it was a number 1. Winston was under here. You can almost see under certain light. They just kind of painted right over it. So RJ Reynolds had the car for that show thing for 1 year. They had brought it to the track. Then it got back in Petty's hands, and they repainted it in 1995 or 6-ish.
Wow.
The inside's red because RJ Reynolds painted the inside red, outside white and red and stuff like that. And when they redid the outside, they just never did the inside. So under that red they picked a few chunks off here and there, and under that red is Petty blue.
So, okay, viewing, viewing audience, take a look at the late 1970s technology, that rear end cooler back there, for example. And here's the seating. Here's that headrest where the belt's mounted. There's a lot of model goers out there also trying to figure out what color interiors were. Don't go by this there, audience. There's the shifter boot. Now you just basically have a lever, but back then you actually had shifter boots, and you better tape that steering wheel the right way or you're going to cut your hand off, according to that Jared. And I notice the king himself signed it.
Yep, he sure did.
Pretty car. That fluorescent or whatever, you know, fire red or whatever they call it.
Day glow red. Yeah, it fades a lot. Obviously, yeah. The previous owner, Ronnie Thomas, was also a Cup driver.
Yep. What, 78?
He had this car for a long time.
78 Rookie of the Year, I think?
Yes, exactly
wow.
right.
Okay.
He had this car for years, and the only reason why he sold it is because he found his 78 Rookie car that needed quite a bit of restoration. So he had it for years, sold it basically to restore his car. But like you're talking about this day glow, so this is from a garage window. He had this car was in the garage, and seasonally the sun would beat through a certain part of the garage and just burn it, you know.
Now this I kind of call this the row of legends. You got Lorenzen here, you got AJ Foyt here, you got Richard Petty here, and now you got the man, Dale Earnhardt.
A 98. I think it was built in 96 or 97-ish, but he ran it a little bit in 96, 97. It wasn't a very good car from the story that I heard. So it was basically a backup to a backup to a backup pit stop practice car. I heard they use it doing the chassis number history. It was basically a pit stop practice car. Is why we have it. You know, there's not many Earnhardt cars out there.
No.
That are real.
I was just gonna say that.
So,
I don't see many around that he was in or you know, he was involved in or whatever. Again, you can see some of the evolution of the technology here.
And this one, it's been beat up. It's been left outside and stuff like that over the years.
One of the few that wasn't sold to Mike Buckley, I guess. He used to buy a lot of Richard Childress's parts and pieces, but again, the paint job on this is just pristine. It's just such a pretty car. I mean, that black, it just gleams in the lighting here. Go to this side, you can see some of the technology here. Different hoses for the coolers, and you know, nowadays you don't run these. The rule change this year, we took this out of the ARCA cars. As people, my viewing audience knows, I do PR for Brad Smith, and these are gone, so I don't know how they're funneling air in. And again, here's another.
And this one's a replica. We had wrapped. Originally it was a Ganassi car, but we got a really good deal on it. We needed something to complete our 7-time champion collection.
Your row of legends.
when I tried to find a real Jimmy Johnson car, I found several, and they were a little bit out of our price range.
Yeah.
So
don't want to auction everything off of one car.
We got pretty lucky on some of these other ones, but when I went to find a Jimmy Johnson car, I'll just say it was way too expensive. So we had a guy that does a really good job from Rusty Wallace Driving Experience, actually.
Okay.
He hooked us up, and so this is a 2013 ATV.
So are you going to try to collect more of, like, say, another style of Jimmy Johnson, another style of, I mean, you got another style of Earnhardt, which we'll get to in a minute, I know. But are you going to look for maybe another style of Petty car, or is just one good, or what do you think?
Yeah, we're good with just one. Yeah. Things could change, you never know. Sometimes you see stuff, it's like, how can they sell that for that cheap? And they have the reasons, and we've picked a lot of these up and felt bad driving away with them. Honestly,
you thought, are we going to see the blue and the blue and the reds following us?
Right.
I assume this is now your favorite racing movie. Probably, or one of them.
Six Pack is probably my absolute favorite racing movie, to be honest with you.
Kenny Rogers, yep.
That was a very inspirational film for me. Have these young kids that can turn wrenches and
1,000, 2,000 to the screwdriver and the hammer.
Yeah, very cool.
Wish it was that easy, huh?
Yeah. This was actually the most recent one. I found it on eBay. It couldn't pass it up. It's a remake. It's obviously it's a Monte Carlo, not a Lumina, but a pretty good remake.
Still a pretty car.
Another Rusty Wallace driving experience car, actually. So,
Well, it's good marketing when you do the driving experiences because, you know, somebody will see it and say, oh, I love that movie. I want to drive that car.
Right,
or if
right.
they see this, I want to drive Jimmy Johnson's car.
Exactly.
And it may not be exact, but you know what?
Right, yeah.
You got closer than I've got. You're right. It's a Monte Carlo, but that's okay.
Yeah. And then this is a replica of the Petty kit car.
Yes.
There was a few different versions of the Petty kit car back in that day. A few different body versions, styles, and stuff like that.
I believe Earnhardt drove one as a test, I believe.
Correct, yeah. So this is just a replica, 73 Challenger replica of what those were. It was a two-seater just to have fun with. Pretty fun little car.
Now, how many of these have you actually driven? I mean, not necessarily on the track, but
Not many of them, honestly. Not many of them at all. Last year we were allowed actually to drive them over to Meadowdale Speedway. They have a little car show that they do once a year, and
Yes.
cool little gathering.
is Meadowdale far from here?
Not too far.
Okay.
3 miles. 3 miles.
Wow, okay.
We were authorized to drive 3 to 4 race cars there, but it poured rain that day, so we couldn't. This would have been one of them.
I wouldn't have done it.
The Torino we would have, a couple of them that run really well, but
Wow.
the replicas, anyways. The originals, we just can't ever put them on the racetrack.
Again, that pretty Petty blue stands out real well.
He actually, at one point, signed this one too. That was already there, like I said, when we purchased it.
Wow.